This is 5.7, lesson 2. For this lesson, we're going to be reviewing solving systems by substitution, and we're going to review all the 3 different ways that we have seen equations set up and then solved by substitution. So our first problem, both of our equations say y equals. And we know whenever we have y equals, we're going to substitute for the variable y. So we're going to take this bottom part right here, y equals 3x. And since I know y equals 3x, I get to put that in place of y. Now my first step here says to isolate one equation. Well, our equations are both isolated. They both say y equals, so I don't need to do this step. Step number 2 is substitute and solve. So that's where we're substituting in our 3x for our y. So we have 3x equals x plus 4. We're going to solve for x, so I need to subtract x on both sides. So I have 2x equals 4. Then I divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 2. Our next step is to solve for the other missing variable, the other missing value. So I need to find what y is. I get to pick one of my equations. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to pick the first one, y equals x plus 4. And I know that x equals 2. So I'm going to have y equals 2 plus 4. So that means y equals 6. Our final answer is 2, 6. Now I ask for us to check this. So in order to check this, we need to plug our numbers in. We know 2 is our x, 6 is our y. So in my first equation, y equals x plus 4, I'm going to substitute 6 for my y. So I have 6 equals, I substitute my 2 for my x plus 4. I simplify both sides, so I have 6 on the left, 6 on the right. That works out. My second equation, I have y equals 3x, where again y is 6 and x is 2. I simplify both sides, so 3 times 2 is 6. Again, this one works out. That's our correct answer. Number 2. Again, our first step is to isolate one equation. Well, we already have one equation that's isolated because I have an x equals. So again, we do not need to do this step. Now what we have to be careful of, since I have an x equals, that means this part right here, y plus 50, is going to substitute for x in that problem. So rather than writing x, I get to put all this right here, y plus 50. Then I get to continue writing the rest of my equation. So plus 2y equals 200. I can combine like terms. Y plus 2y is 3y plus 50 equals 200. We'll subtract 50 from both sides to get 3y equals 150. We divide both sides by 3 and get y equals 50. Our next step is to solve for the other missing value, which means that I need to find x. Again, we can plug y into either equation, but the one that's isolated is going to be your easiest one, the least amount of work to find your x. So we don't know what x is, we leave that alone, but we know that y is 50. So I get to substitute 50 for y. So we have x is 50 plus 50, which means that x is 100. So in our final answer, remember, is always x comma y, so it's going to be 100 comma 50. Again, we need to check this, so let's start with our first equation, x plus 2y equals 200, and we're going to substitute 100 for x and 50 for y, and we're going to simplify both sides. So we have 100, and then 2 times 50 is also 100. So we know 100 plus 100 is 200. We get 200 on both sides. That works out. Again, we do our second equation. We have x equals y plus 50. We substitute 100 for x. We substitute 50 for y. On the right side, 50 plus 50 is 100. We get 100 on both sides. That one works. The third one, our first step is to isolate one equation. That means I need an x equals or a y equals. And I do not have that for either one of these equations. So I will need to do this first step. Now, we want to choose our second equation because both x and y do not have a coefficient. They do not have numbers in front of them. So it is your choice if you want to make this second equation say x equals or y equals. It's both going to be the same amount of work. So we're going to rewrite this equation, x plus y equals -4. And I'm going to decide to make this y equals. So we're going to subtract x on both sides so that y equals negative x minus 4. That is what my second equation now is. Since I have a y equals, I'm ready to substitute. I am substituting what y equals, which is negative x minus 4, and I'm substituting that for y in my first equation. So we're going to rewrite our first equation, 5x minus 3 times what we have in our box right here, negative x minus 4, and it's going to equal negative 4. We're going to distribute our negative 3, so our 5x stays. Negative 3 times negative x is a positive 3x. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12, and that's going to equal negative 4. 5x plus 3x we can combine to give us 8x plus 12 equals negative 4. We'll subtract 12 from both sides to get 8x equals, let's see here, negative 16. We'll divide both sides by 8, and I get y equals negative 2. Once we found y, we need to find our x. Again, you can pick any equation. I can pick the first one, the second one, or the second one that I changed. I'm going to pick the second one that I changed because it is going to be the least amount of work for me to find my y. So I'm going to have y equals, I have a negative for my equation, and then I have a negative for my 2, so be careful, we have a double negative here. So a double negative really means this is a positive 2 minus 4, so that means this is negative 2, our answer. Oh, dear goodness gracious, guys, I made a mistake. We are solving for x and not for y. Oh, no, this is x. X equals this right here. I apologize. X is negative 2, y is negative 2. There we go. So we have negative 2 comma negative 2. We're going to make sure that this works